Today, we're in Galesburg, Illinois, a town that's home to one of BNSF's largest rail yards. Our first catch of the day is a vehicle train with an old H1-9. The H1, her Heritage 1 paint job, is the first widespread successful paint job BNSF came up with back in 1997, I believe. However, it didn't last long because the H2 paint scheme came out just a few years later. After that, we see one of Galesburg's mega-sized yard movements. The train this single SD40-2 is pulling is about a mile long, and on top of that, the cars have no brakes, so stopping this train's completely up to the lone locomotive. The purpose of these yard movements is to sort cars en masse and get them ready to be put on outbound trains. There's multiple yard movements just like this, all day, every day. It just goes to show the insanely high volumes of rail traffic the Galesburg yard sees. After the rear of the train cleared the appropriate switch in the yard, the whole thing began to back up, so all the cars could be put in their proper place. Since the cars have no brakes, I wonder what things the engineer has to do differently while driving a train like this, considering there's so much inertia and he's driving a lower powered locomotive. Up next, we see a mixed freight. Galesburg is the final stop for this train, and while there ain't anything too interesting on the head end, there was quite a surprise in the middle. Loaded well cars carrying trash. Now, I've seen loaded well cars on mixed freights before, but never on a BNSF train, and this is only the second time I've ever seen designated trash containers in person. Maybe these well cars were bad orders that got fixed and are just being sent to Galesburg on any old train so they can be sorted and sent to their actual destination. Of course, that's just a theory. There's no way to know for sure. But still, what a catch. The next train of the day had an awesome engineer. Just listen to the horn salute he gives here in a bit. Also, check out the lead engine. Not only does it have some snow stuck to the plow, but it also has a headlight out as well. Maybe that'll get fixed while the train stopped in the yard. And now for that fantastic horn salute. After that train was gone, it was time to head over to the Locomotive Shops, where we see a CPKC engine. It feels so strange having CP and KCS be fallen flags now. Based off the limited knowledge we have, we know the patches on pre-merger power are small. The question now is, will CPKC continue to keep those patches small, or will they come up with something bigger in the future? In that same lash-up, we also see a cream and green Executive Mac. It's good to see these engines out and about, since most of them are in storage. Speaking of Burlington Northern paint jobs, we also see a Cascade green Jeep that somehow was allowed to keep its original road number. And behind it, we see some sort of SW unit and a Norfolk Southern AC-44 rebuild. And then, we see one of the rarest locomotive models BNSF has to offer, a former ATSF C40-8W. Unfortunately, this old soldier don't belong to BNSF anymore. It's been sold to Larry's Truck and Electric for scrap. What's funny is, this engine shouldn't even be in Galesburg. It should have been shipped to St. Louis months ago, with the rest of BNSF's Dash 8s coming up from Galveston, but it got turned around in Oklahoma City after one of its traction motors went bad. To make a long story short, it's now in Galesburg, and has been here for several weeks. It's only a matter of time before it gets shipped out east to where the rest of the Dash 8s went. Thank goodness we still get to see it while it's still in one piece, though. After that amazing catch, we see a Fort Worth and Western locomotive. These SD60s are some of the first wide cab engines to be delivered to the FWWR. This locomotive will soon catch a southbound train, so it can be delivered to its home railroad. Up next, we see one of Galesburg's multiple hump sets, with BNSF 302. Very few of BNSF's SD40-2Bs are still in service. If I'm not mistaken, 300, 301, and 302 are the only SD40-2Bs left on the roster, and they all work the hump set here in Galesburg. If I'm wrong, please let me know. And finally, we catch a couple slugs. I'm not exactly sure what number 58's job duties are. I think it just helps with yard switching, because I've never seen it on the yard movement, hump set, or local. And I don't think 3965 does much of anything. In fact, this is the first time I've seen it move from its normal spot by the parking lot. Normally, after a trip to the Locomotive Shops, the video would just end here. But not today, because we're headed down to Lincoln Street for some double-track Transcon action. Our first catch is a driver who demonstrates exactly what you should never do at a railroad crossing. Trying to beat a train is a good way to get yourself killed. Those gates, lights, and bells are there for a reason. What's even worse is that the curve leading up to this crossing doesn't have the greatest visibility, so engineers don't have a lot of warning if they need to stop their train. Just let this be a lesson to always use common sense. While that intermodal was going under the bridge, a grainer went over. It's taking the turnoff onto the Barstow sub. This train will most likely take the Barstow all the way to its end just outside of the Quad Cities. And for the final catch of the day, we have to drive about half an hour east to catch a truly one-of-a-kind engine. It's Norfolk Southern number 1066, the one and only New York Central Heritage Unit. If it weren't for a broken down vehicle train holding up this intermodal, we never would have been able to see this amazing engine. Just a few minutes after getting these shots, 1066 and its intermodal was cleared to go around the V train. The intermodal 1066's leading is what you call a transfer train, meaning it started life on Norfolk Southern tracks, but was handed over to BNSF at an interchange in Chicago, motive power and all. 1066 will lead this train all the way to the end of the Transcon in Los Angeles, passing through 9 states and traveling over 2,200 miles of track, just on the way there. And with the sun starting to set, I decided to call it a day. Thanks for watching. If y'all enjoyed this video, consider checking out some other ones of mine. Also, maybe pass yourself by the merch shop. We got a new design hopefully coming out soon. Anyways, till next time.